Hello and welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is David Novak. This is going to be one of those late night readings. Of late, my habit has been to go to sleep or go to bed at going to sleep and going to bed are synonymous with me at a fairly early hour, say 9 or 10 o'clock lately, generally 10, I would say. And then waking up at 1 o'clock, 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. With some breathing issues, wheezing, coughing, which will not abate unless I get up, walk around, maybe make some coffee, maybe eat a little something, and then sit up reading. And that seems to let me feel better as opposed to lying down in the bed, particularly if there comes some kind of a feline creature to weigh itself upon my chest, or my head and face even. And just been thinking about these tumultuous times, and a line popped into my head, and that line belongs to a certain poem. And I thought, well, I don't know that I would have this poem anywhere. I don't have a book by the poet. And then I thought, well, if it exists anywhere in my possession, it will be in the Norton Anthology of Poetry. This is the third edition. I don't think I've ever gone past the third edition, a really marvelous book, but I generally use the shorter edition. This one has a lot of stuff. I think it even has the Goldsmith poem, not the Traveler, the other one, the better one, the one about the deserted village, something like that. I have a recording of that on my channel. I think it's contained in here, but. The poem that I was looking for, I thought, well, it must be, if anywhere, it'll be here. And it was, and it is. It certainly is not in my shorter editions, which have been my go-to anthologies. So when I first came across that poem, and there's something in one of my books, or The Rip of Gales, that kind of harkens back to this poem a little bit. I should have brought that book out. But when I first came across it, I thought, oh, this poem resonates very well with a certain poem by John Donne, a poem and poet, which I have known for a long time. And so thinking about those couple of lines, or that line from the Andrew Marvell poem, and then John Donne, I thought, well, maybe I should... as long as I'm up, do a paired reading of the two poems. And then flipping through this book, I thought, well, why don't I just look at some other poems from the time period? So I'm going to read some other poems from the time period, poems with which I am not especially familiar. I don't tend to read a lot of poetry anymore, and so if I have read these, it would be long ago. So the first poet after John Donne we find is Ben Jonson, and I will begin there. This is titled To the Reader. Pray thee take care that takes my book in hand, to read it well, that is, to understand. And something along those lines, which I reel off the cuff often enough: to fool or knave, thy praise or dispraise is to me alike. One doth not stroke me, nor the other strike. Which couplet encapsulates perfectly the attitude one must have if one is to be a poet. This one is on playwright, kind of a odd note here. playwright, convict of public wrongs to men, takes private beatings and begins again. Two kinds of valor he doth show at once, active in's brain and passive in his bones. To John Donne. I'm not going to read everything, though. Recently, somewhere or another, I read his song to Celia. Why don't I just do that one again, since it's such a great poem? How can one pass it by? Based on some antique source, I believe. There was a lot of that going around. Song to Celia. Drink to me only with thine eyes, and I will pledge with mine. Or leave a kiss but in the cup, and I'll not look for wine. The thirst that from the soul doth rise, doth ask a drink divine. But might I of Jove's nectar sup, I would not change for thine. I sent thee late a rosy wreath, not so much honoring thee, as giving it a hope that there it could not withered be. But thou thereon didst only breathe, and sent'st it back to me, since when it grows and smells, I swear, not of itself, but thee. And this is going to take a fair amount of flipping through. I find the book too weighty and heavy, and don't use it for that. And now that I am even older, holding a heavy book is more difficult, but I'm sort of braced or propped here pretty well, so. Not one of my favorite poets, but the language does shine through Ben's pen occasionally, and one must respect that. So this is called Come, My Celia. Come, my Celia, let us prove, while we can, the sports of love. Time will not be ours forever. He at length our good will sever. Spend not then his gifts in vain. Suns that set may rise again. But if once we lose this light, 'tis with us perpetual night. Why should we defer our joys? Fame and rumor are but toys. Cannot we delude the eyes of a few poor household spies, or his easier ears beguile, so removed by our wile? 'Tis no sin love's fruit to steal, but the sweet thefts to reveal. To be taken, to be seen, these have crimes accounted been. So here's one that I don't know, but I will read it. Though I am young and cannot tell. From the Sad Shepherd, the note says. So I think that's just the first line and not a title per se. Though I am young and cannot tell either what death or love is well, yet I have heard they both bear darts, and both do aim at human hearts. And then again I have been told, love wounds with heat as death with cold, so that I fear they do but bring extremes to touch and mean one thing. As in a ruin we it call one thing to be blown up or fall, or to our end like way may have by a flash of lightning or a wave. So love's inflamed shaft or brand may kill as soon as death's cold hand. Except love's fires the virtue have to fright the frost out of the grave. Sorry about that. When I sit in this spot, my vision is not always the clearest. Shall I read something by John Fletcher? I assume also from a play of sorts. Oh, interesting. The first stanza of this song appears as a complete poem in Shakespeare's play Measure for Measure. It is likely that Fletcher simply appropriated it. Well, that's good to know. Take, oh take those lips away that so sweetly were forsworn, and those eyes like break of day, lights that do mislead the morn. But my kisses bring again seals of love, though sealed in vain. Hide, oh hide those hills of snow, which thy frozen bosom bears, on whose tops the pinks that grow are of those that April wears. But first set my poor heart free, bound in those icy chains by thee. Interesting. William Brown, Browne. I think Aaron at Aaron Facer reads this poet, but I'm not going to read this because I'm not familiar with it. And good old Robert Herrick. You find in these early poems a lot of commonality of theme, a certain way of looking at the world that transfigures itself in different ways throughout the various poems. This is titled Delight in Disorder. A sweet disorder in the dress kindles in clothes a wantonness, a lawn about the shoulders thrown into a fine distraction, an erring lace which here and there enthralls the crimson stomacher, a cuff neglectful, and thereby ribbons to flow confusedly, a winning wave deserving note in the tempestuous petticoat, a careless shoestring in whose tie I see a wild civility. Do more bewitch me than when art is too precise in every part. Upon a scobble. I've never looked at this before. Let's see what this is about. Scobble for whoredom whips his wife and cries, he'll slit her nose, but blubbering she replies, good sir, make no more cuts i' the outward skin. One slit's enough to let adultery in. Ho, 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 ho. I didn't mean to go there. No. Well, of course, you know the famous one. To the virgins to make much of time. Gather ye rosebuds while ye may. Old time is still a-flying. And this same flower that smiles today, tomorrow will be dying. The glorious lamp of heaven, the sun, the higher he's a-getting, the sooner will his race be run, and nearer he's to setting. That age is best which is the first, when youth and blood are warmer. But being spent, the worse and worst times still succeed the former. Then be not coy, but use your time, and while ye may, go marry. For having lost but once your prime, you may forever tarry. Now here's one. This is upon a child that died. I'll read it and then try to give you the one that I like better. Upon a child that died. Here she lies, a pretty bud, lately made of flesh and blood, who as soon fell fast asleep as her little eyes did peep. Give her strewings, but not stir the earth that lightly covers her. And the poem which I like better, which is, I think, in one of my shorter editions, goes something like, I don't know if I don't know if the verb is sung or something else. Here a pretty baby lies, sung asleep with lullabies. Pray be gentle and not stir the easy earth that covers her. And here's another. Upon Prue his maid. In this little urn is laid Prudence Baldwin, once my maid, from whose happy spark here let spring the purple violet. Well, why not do upon Julia's clothes, since clothes seem to be a theme tonight. Whenas in silks my Julia goes, then, methinks, how sweetly flows that liquefaction of her clothes. Next, when I cast mine eyes and see that brave vibration each way free, oh, how that glittering taketh me. And a number of poems for Ben Jonson. Upon Ben Jonson. Here lies Jonson with the rest of the poets, but the best. Reader, wouldst thou more have known? Ask his story, not this stone. That will speak what this can't tell of his glory. So farewell. Well, we can pass over George Herbert. Vanity, Man, Life, The Pulley. It's tempting, isn't it? But, well, let me not pass over George Herbert. I'm not that familiar with his poems. I mean, I think I do have a book, but it's not something I turn to very often. Bitter sweet. Ah, my dear angry Lord, since thou dost love, yet strike, cast down, yet help afford, sure I will do the like. I will complain, yet praise, I will bewail, approve, and all my sour sweet days I will lament and love. Poetry is a function of language, and at certain times, language matures to a certain, degree or consistency, and then poems get written, as well as good prose. Now, Thomas Carew. a song. Ask me no more where Jove bestows, when June is past, the fading rose. For in your beauty's orient deep, these flowers, as in their causes, sleep. Ask me no more whither do stray the golden atoms of the day. For in pure love heaven did prepare those powders to enrich your hair. Ask me no more whither doth haste the nightingale when May is past. For in your sweet dividing throat she winters and keeps warm her note. Ask me no more where those stars light that downwards fall in dead of night. For in your eyes they sit, and there fixed become, as in their sphere. Ask me no more if east or west the phoenix builds her spicy nest. For unto you at last she flies, and in your fragrant bosom dies. A lot of themes there that run continually throughout poetry. You can hear even some similarities with some Robert Frost there. I would not impute influence, though I don't believe Robert Frost was an ignorant man. Well, this is called Mediocrity in Love Rejected. Give me more love or more disdain, the torrid or the frozen zone. Bring equal ease unto my pain. The temperate affords me none. Either extreme of love or hate is sweeter than a calm estate. Give me a storm, if it be love, like Danae in that golden shower. I swim in pleasure. If it prove disdain, that torrent will devour my vulture hopes, and he's possessed of heaven that's but from hell released. Then crown my joys or cure my pain. Give me more love or more disdain. To me, that sounds like the sentiment of a young poet. Well, let's see. This is called Song to My Inconstant Mistress. When thou, poor excommunicate from all the joys of love, shalt see the full reward and glorious fate which my strong faith shall purchase me, then curse thine own inconstancy. A fairer hand than thine shall cure that heart which thy false oaths did wound, and to my soul a soul more pure than thine shall by love's hand be bound, and both with equal glory crowned. Then shalt thou weep, entreat, complain to love, as I did once to thee, when all thy tears shall be as vain as mine were then, for thou shalt be damned for thy false apostasy. Damned for thy false apostasy. It doesn't get the extra syllable there. You never know. Sometimes they forget to mark them. Well, that's quite powerful. This is Edmund Waller. I'm not sure how that I know him. On a girdle, that which her slender waist confined shall now my joyful temples bind. No monarch but would give his crown, his arms might do what this has done. It was my heaven's extremest sphere, the pale which held that lovely dear. My joy, my grief, my hope, my love did all within this circle move. A narrow compass, and yet there dwelt all that's good and all that's fair. Give me but what this ribbon bound, take all the rest, the sun goes round. John Milton, dare I throw some John Milton in here? Perhaps a sonnet. It would be nice to read on the morning of Christ's nativity. I don't know if I've done that on my channel. If I have, I'll put a link to it, but I don't know if I have. Perhaps I should. Or perhaps do again with a reading of Christmas poems with the season come upon us. Not one that I know very well. They headline it, Methought I Saw. Methought I saw my late espoused saint, brought to me like Alcestis from the grave, whom Jove's great son to her glad husband gave, rescued from death by force, though pale and faint. Mine, as whom washed from spot of child-bed taint, purification in the old law did save. And such as yet once more I trust to have full sight of her in heaven without restraint, came vested all in white, pure as her mind. Her face was veiled, yet to my fancied sight, love, sweetness, goodness in her person shined, so clear as in no face with more delight. But oh, as to embrace me she inclined, I waked, she fled, and day brought back my night. Probably deserves a better reading than that, but I'm not going to go back. I probably should have read more of this kind of stuff when I was younger. It would have improved my own verse, I suppose. Now we're into Sir John Suckling song. Why so pale and wan, fond lover? Prithee, why so pale? Will, when looking well can't move her, looking ill prevail? Prithee, why so pale? Why so dull and mute, young sinner? Prithee, why so mute? Will, when speaking well can't win her, saying nothing do it? Prithee, why so mute? Quit, quit for shame, this will not move, this cannot take her. If of herself she will not love, nothing can make her, the devil take her. You know, that kind of advice, why so dull and mute, young sinner, or why so pale and wan, young lover? Good enough advice, but I don't think it's very easily acted upon by the young swain who hears it. Out upon it. Out upon it, I have loved 3 whole days together, and am like to love thee more, if it prove fair weather. Time shall moult away his wings, ere he shall discover in the whole wide world again such a constant lover. But The spite on't is no praise is due at all to me. Love with me had made no stays, had it any been but she. Had it any been but she, and that very face, there had been, at least ere this, a dozen in her place. And I will skip Anne Bradstreet. Adam Cowley, do I know him? No, I don't. Well, might as well give you some Richard Lovelace. To Althea from prison. Oh, and that last one, the Milton Alcestis. I don't know how you pronounce it. If it's Alcestis, I bet John David would tell me it's Alcestis, something like that. Anyhow, Richard Lovelace. To Althea from prison. When love with unconfined wings hovers within my gates, and my divine Althea brings to whisper at the grates, when I lie tangled in her hair and fettered to her eye, the gods that wanton in the air know no such liberty. When flowing cups run swiftly round with no allaying Thames, our careless heads with roses bound, our hearts with loyal flames. When thirsty grief in wine we steep, when healths and draughts go free, fishes that tipple in the deep know no such liberty. When, like committed linnets, I with shriller throat shall sing the sweetness, mercy, majesty, and glories of my King. When I shall voice aloud how good he is, how great should be, enlarged winds that curl the flood know no such liberty. Stone walls do not a prison make, nor iron bars a cage. Minds innocent and quiet take that for an hermitage. If I have freedom in my love, and in my soul am free, angels alone that soar above enjoy such liberty. Poetry can help one through the night. Recently, when I did the question and answer video for my 2,000 subscriber count, I was asked, like, what would be a poem for hard times? Actually, there's a lot of them, and just poetry in general can help you through some hard times, I think. So, sticking with Richard Lovelace, to Lucasta going to the wars. Tell me not, sweet, I am unkind, that from the nunnery of thy chaste breast and quiet mind to war and arms I fly. True, a new mistress now I chase, the first foe in the field, and with a stronger faith embrace a sword, a horse, a shield. Yet this inconstancy is such as you too shall adore. I could not love thee, dear, so much, loved I not honor more. We, of course, have to transmute these sentiments to our own times. I don't know if Mark Bloch, whose book Strange Defeat I am reading now, would voice those sentiments in that way. Of course, he was French. To Amarantha, that she would dishevel her hair. Amarantha sweet and fair, ah, braid no more that shining hair, as my curious hand or eye hovering round thee, let it fly. Let it fly as unconfined as its calm ravisher, the wind, who hath left his darling, the east, to wanton o'er that spicy nest. Every tress must be confessed, but neatly tangled at the best, like a clue of golden thread, most excellently ravelled. Do not then wind up that light in ribbons, and o'er cloud in night, like the sun in's early ray, but shake your head and scatter day. See, 'tis broke within this grove the bower and the walks of love. Weary lie we down and rest, and fan each other's panting breast. Here we'll strip and cool our fire, in cream below, in milk baths higher, and when all wells are drawn dry, I'll drink a tear out of thine eye, which our very joys shall leave, that sorrows thus we can deceive, or our very sorrows weep, that joys so ripe so little keep. Well, here I am on to Andrew Marvell. I'm not going to read the famous one. Well, I mean, there's more than one famous one, but to his coy mistress, I'll not read that one. Let me go back to John Donne and then remind me to come back to page 340 for the definition of love. But let me get back to John Donne. For the valediction. A valediction forbidding mourning. As virtuous men pass mildly away and whisper to their souls to go, whilst some of their sad friends do say, the breath goes now, and some say no. So let us melt and make no noise, no tear floods nor sigh tempests move. 'Twere profanation of our joys to tell the laity our love. Moving of the earth brings harms and fears. Men reckon what it did and meant, but trepidation of the spheres, though greater far, is innocent. Dull sublunary lovers love, whose soul is sense, cannot admit absence, because it doth remove those things which elemented it. But we by a love so much refined, that ourselves know not what it is, interassured of the mind, care less eyes, lips, and hands to miss. Our two souls, therefore, which are one, though I must go, endure not yet a breach, but an expansion, like gold to airy thinness beat. If they be two, they are two so, as stiff twin compasses are two. Thy soul, the fixed foot, makes no show to move, but doth if th' other do. And though it in the centre sit, yet when the other far doth roam, it leans and hearkens after it, and grows erect as that comes home. Such wilt thou be to me, who must, like th' other foot, obliquely run. Thy firmness makes my circle just, and makes me end where I begun. Well, there, I just proved myself in error. It was actually the line, like gold to airy thinness beat, which I attributed to Andrew Marvell. But no, here it was. Just thinking, because sometimes in life one's will to live can be beat to airy thinness, and poetry can indeed help you to keep on. So what page did I say? Did I say 340? Really? Yes, I did. So now I will read you the poem that I thought I was thinking of. The definition of love. My love is of a birth as rare as 'tis for object strange and high. It was begotten by despair upon impossibility. Magnanimous despair alone could show me so divine a thing, where feeble hope could ne'er have flown, but vainly flapped its tinsel wing. And yet I quickly might arrive where my extended soul is fixed, but fate does iron wedges drive, and always crowds itself betwixt. For fate with jealous eye does see two perfect loves, nor lets them close. Their union would her ruin be, and her tyrannic power depose. And therefore her decrees of steel us as the distant poles have placed, though love's whole world on us doth wheel, not by themselves to be embraced, unless the giddy heaven fall, and earth some new convulsion tear, and us to join the world should all be cramped into a planisphere. As lines, so love's oblique may well themselves in every angle greet, but ours so truly parallel, though infinite, can never meet. Therefore the love which us doth bind, but fate so enviously debars, is the conjunction of the mind and opposition of the stars. I think that's enough for one midnight's reading, again from the great third edition of the Norton Anthology of Poetry. Thank you for stopping by my channel.